I'm Jason UFC, and today we have a story about UFC lightweight contenders. Charles Oliveira versus Beneil Dariush has been rescheduled for UFC 289 in Canada. Former UFC lightweight champion Charles Oliveira suffered a, quote, minor injury that forced him out of UFC 288 next month. The bout is now reportedly being scheduled for the following pay-per-view event in Canada, UFC 289. Oliveira was supposed to face Beneil Dariush in a pivotal, what many considered a number one contender lightweight main event. The winner could have gotten the title shot versus Islam Makhachev next. It was reported by the Schmo that this fight will now be taking place at UFC 289, just one pay-per-view later. Oliveira. Oliveira versus Beneil Dariush will go down in Canada on June 10th, 2023. It was a frustrating setback for Oliveira and Beneil Dariush, who seemed highly motivated for his clash with Beneil Dariush. Charles Oliveira versus Beneil Dariush. Dariush has long called for a lightweight title shot, will likely stay intact with the Oliveira matchup. He has won, Beneil Dariush has won 8 straight fights. Beneil Dariush, okay. Let me see, is there anything else in this story? No. Okay, I mean, this is good news, but it's interesting news. I think people really haven't been looking past this fight. What this fight being at UFC 28 was scheduled to be at UFC 288, which was going to happen in May. The winner of this fight was most likely going to be the number one contender competing versus Islam Makhachev in October. Now, with this fight taking place in June, it is a 3-round fight. That is very important to know. This is not a 5-round fight. This is the co-main event of UFC 289. So this will be a 3-round fight, but it was considered that this was most likely the number one contendership fight. So the question now is, okay, right, with this happening at UFC 289, what happens with Islam Makhachev, right? We have to figure out who is the number one contender. Are we still going to wait for the results of this fight, which happens in June, and then give them June, July, August, September, give them 3 months after a number one contendership fight, to head all the way to Dubai to fight Islam Makhachev, who last fought in February? Or is there another contender? People are talking about, what's his name? Dustin Poirier versus Justin Gaethje. Is that a number one contender fight, or is that fight not going to happen, or one of those two fighters automatically in the number one contender right now? There's also Michael Chandler versus Conor McGregor. That fight has not even been announced yet. So are one of those two going to step into the number one contendership fight? Or, I don't know. I don't know what's going on. We also had kind of a little sneaky story. I mean, it doesn't really seem like it's much, but we did see Leon Edwards say that he wants to fight on the Dubai card. We had a quick call out of Islam Makhachev calling out Leon Edwards. Leon Edwards saying he doesn't want to fight Colby Covington next. Islam Makhachev fighting on the Dubai card. Leon Edwards fighting on the Dubai card. Is that the next fight? I mean, there's just so many questions. I know it sounds crazy, but, there's just so many questions that literally will now have to be answered, and now we have to wait until UFC 289 to figure out who's the number one contender. Are they going to wait for this fight to see the damage of the winner and then have them be the number one contender, or is there already a number one contender out there? Let me know your opinion of this story. Who do you think is going to win this fight, first of all? Charles Oliveira versus Beneil Dariush at UFC 289, headlined by Amanda Nunes versus Juliana Pena. That's the headline of the fight. The other notable fight, even though I am a MMA casual on this card, is Wonderboy Thompson versus Michelle Pereira. But everything else on the card, it's going to be a hard sell. UFC 288 is going to be kind of a hard sell with them losing Charles Oliveira versus Beneil Dariush. UFC 288 is headlined by Aljamain Sterling versus Henry Cejudo. So, I mean, UFC has been losing some fights. John Jones versus Stipe Miocic. They're talking about that happening in November, right? So it seems like, the next few months, the UFC pay-per-view schedule is going to be pretty light. Like the start of this year, I mean, we saw John Jones win. We saw Israel Adesanya win. We saw Islam Makhachev win. We saw Leon Edwards win, right? We've seen really, really great fights the first 4 months of this year. The next 4 months, it looks like it may be a little bit light for MMA casuals like myself, but I'm still going to watch. I'm still going to watch it, of course. But let me know who you think is going to win between this fight. And more importantly, who do you think is a number one contender? You think they should wait for this fight? Do you think Dustin Poirier should be the number one contender? Do you think Justin Gaethje should be the number one contender? Should they fight each other for number one contender? And if all of these people are fighting, everybody else in the division is tied up, then who is next for Islam Makhachev? I'm Jason, UFC. Today we had a story about Charles Oliveira, UFC lightweight contenders. Charles Oliveira and Beneil Dariush has been rescheduled for UFC 289 in Canada as the co-main event. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the $1 donation button, and please tune in to the next video on this channel. Thanks a million for watching.